make sure that you not only take a step to introduce yourself to your neighbor, but swap their your LinkedIn information, grab their email address so that you can follow up with them. And I often tell people that it's all about the follow-up because so many people will meet you, it's exciting, you get to know them a little bit, and then you just kind of drop off after there. If you take the simple steps of following up, you're going to see a lot of stuff happen within your networking search. So we're going to be talking about a couple different things. I kind of already did the introduction, so we'll just blaze right through that. We're going to be talking about recession planning. Yay, right? No?
Sounds like a funeral planning.
We're going to talk about showing up. We're going to be talking about finding less visible companies that are out there in the world. And then finally, we are going to be talking about remote work. Real quick, how many of you are looking for remote work? Okay, how many of you, keep your hands up if you are only considering remote work? Okay, good, we're on the right path there, we're going to talk about that and basically some of the different things you should be taking into consideration when it comes to remote work. And I bring that up because after the pandemic, the single words that come out of everybody's mouth is remote work, oh, can I work from home? So sometimes it's phrased a little bit differently. All right. I apologize, I had not memorized my slideshow, so that's why I have to kind of look backwards a little bit. Come on.
You can always ask Paul.
Hey, Paul, would you mind just advancing the slides for me, sir?
Yay, Paul. We love Paul, we need Paul.
Hey, Paul!
He keeps the trains running.
It's supposed to work a minute ago. Try the switch on the side.
It's on now, it's on. Try it now.
Oh my goodness. I'm sure that will be
Yeah, it sure did work a minute ago. I don't know what's going on now. Okay, let's give it a shot. Negative, if you wouldn't mind just advancing the slides for me, sir.
I will.
All right. And you can kind of click through a couple of times right there. So real quick, while we're talking about this, I do have this part of it more or less memorized. So we're going to talk about the recession that is coming. Or is it coming? Real quick, a show of hands, do you think that a recession is happening now? No? Okay. All right. Real quick, do you think that a recession is going to happen within the next year? Raise your hand. Okay. Do you think a recession is going to happen within the next 2 years? All right, okay, so I saw a couple of hands go up right there, and this is not meant to be fear-mongering right there. And I say that because the word recession, for me, has a very distinct stigma to it. I graduated in 2009 into the Great Recession, and it was a terrible time to find work. I remember that I looked for all the jobs that I possibly could find for an entry-level position, and they all required 2 years of experience at least. So I don't know if any of you all have ever been in that situation. So right now, and Paul, just keep clicking. Click like, maybe like 6 or 7 times. 6 or 7 times, just keep going. All right. Keep going. Skip that one. Already did that.
I think he's using the clicker.
Yeah, but it's
Just
supposed
hold
to.
that.
Okay. Is it working now? Okay. Cool. This just has our website on it, so you can, like many companies, you can find us online. Surprising, right? Okay.
Also, I recommend going to their offices. They're over in the Triangle, and the owner has purchased some of the most amazing, interesting pieces of artwork that are in there.
I guess I'll have to do it here.
Okay, there we go. All right, so currently it's estimated that 90% of CFOs anticipate a recession in the next year. So I'm really glad to see that there's a lot of optimism in this room. Right now, currently most CFOs are estimating that there will be a recession. Now, whether or not they can read the tea leaves, who knows? But that's currently kind of the situation that we're looking at. And recessions are pretty scary for pretty much anybody that you come across. However, most everybody estimates that it's going to be a mild and brief recession. So we're talking like something that's probably over and done with in about a year's time. Also, it's really important to estimate for you all right now that there's currently 1.7 jobs open for every single job seeker. So I know that John actually mentioned a little bit earlier today about how we have a very busy labor market. That's what we're talking about right now. Now, I know that's not very comforting to you if you're looking for work right now, and you're like, well, where's my 1.7 job? But right now, that's kind of the current state of the labor market, is that there's 1.7 jobs open for every single human being that's looking for work. So, that said, we've been a little bit scared because we've been looking and seeing all the layoffs that are happening within the tech sector industry. And that's really scary. A lot of times, like John said, a lot of times the tech sector is a little bit more prone to these ups and downs as they happen. But it's also important to keep in mind that a lot of the times the people that are being laid off in these tech sectors are folks that are doing general administrative work or customer service kind of work or project management. Sometimes they don't have anything to do with tech whatsoever or at all. All it means is that these companies are feeling the effects a little bit more. But it is important to keep in mind, too, that the tech industry is oftentimes a bit of a canary in the coal mine. Everybody familiar with that term? Like, basically, the canary goes in, and oftentimes they would bring the canary down with them into the mines and see if the canary passed out, and if so, all the miners would start running, right? So, what do you do? Well, the first thing that I like to kind of draw to is everybody watch Michael Phelps on television, right? So one of the most famous things, and when he actually set one of his first world records, was he was training, and he basically said, you know what? I'm going to plan for the worst possible situation that I possibly can. I'm going to imagine the worst possible scenario. And if you swim, the worst possible thing that can happen to you is that your goggles fall off. And that happens to me all the time when I swim. Well, what he started to do is he started to actually practice where he would swim without his goggles on, and he would practice his strokes. And he would count out his strokes every single time to do the perfect flip turn, come right around, and turn back. Well, sure enough, it's the big time, it's the qualifier for one of the Olympic events, and he gets in the pool, he starts swimming, and he's such a powerhouse anyway, and then sure enough, his goggles fall off of his face, but the race has already started at that particular time. However, the fact that he had been in the water, he had practiced that time with being able to imagine the possible worst and then be able to kind of overcome it, it really kind of worked out for him. So what does that mean for your job search? That means that what you should do is you should assume the worst thing that could possibly happen so it does not surprise you. And then hope that good things happen. Hope that we don't that we don't come into like a deep, dark kind of big recession and stuff like that, but also start planning ahead and thinking, if that does happen, what's my fallback plan? Who do I know? How can I get in contact with people? How can I start making updates to my resume right now? Do I have a fallback industry? Do I have a fallback network? Start thinking about fallback opportunities that you have right now. The second thing, and speaking of that, is what you can do right now is you can update your resume. And I say that because a lot of times when we are job searching and stuff like that, there's a whole bunch of ambiguous things floating around like, I should probably update my LinkedIn. I should probably update my resume. I should just take it one bite at a time, okay? If you can make a single update to your resume today, can everybody promise me that you're going to make an update to your resume today? All right, cool. All right, I see one hand going up right there. That's fantastic. So if you can make even one single update to your resume today, based off of some of the ideas that are swirling around in your head after talking with so many different other job seekers and talking with other people here in the room, that's progress. That's fantastic. If you can apply for a single job today, that's progress. Don't look at it as the full scope of everything that you possibly have to do. Think about the one single thing that you can accomplish today and do that thing right now. And speaking of which, start taking interviews. Is anybody currently fully employed but just exploring other opportunities? Okay, cool, fantastic. What I would tell you is if you're kind of waiting around out there, you're kind of seeing what the party looks like and stuff like that, take interviews. Additionally, let's say, for example, you get an offer, but it's a verbal offer. This happened to my friend the other day. He got a verbal offer from Amazon, and guess what? They ghosted him. They just went away, and nothing absolutely happened of that. And meanwhile, he had turned down multiple other opportunities to interview. You are a free agent, and you need to look after your own self. So the biggest recommendation that I would give to you is keep taking interviews, keep networking with all the recruiters, keep doing everything you can until your first day starts and you sign the I-9 paperwork. Do not stop until that point. Make sure to keep your options open because you're looking out for yourself. And get on LinkedIn. Who here feels really good about their LinkedIn presence? Okay, so there's some room for growth right here, room for growth right here. What does a good LinkedIn presence look like for you?
Complete headline,
Cool.
all the jobs filled in, also a little bit of posting,
Yeah.
and lots of responses to other people's posting
Yeah.
to get the activity level up.
Yeah. Cool. Anybody else? Anybody else have a good LinkedIn right now? And what are they doing for it? No, I saw 2 more hands go up. No?
She's, yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Grace.
I have recommendations,
Cool.
and then like, what's it called at the bottom? I just put my mind to blank.
Yeah.
When you have a skill and they endorse your skill, so like
Yeah.
endorsing. That's what I've got.
Cool. Any other ideas for what we can do to improve our LinkedIn right now? Go ahead.
Well, the first thing is your profile picture should be very professional. Secondly, like what she said, recommendations to showcase that you've been in business. And thirdly, just be when you show up actively blogging, responding, your resume is your LinkedIn.
I love that. Yeah, fantastic. So we heard a lot of different things right here, and I can tell you that most people's LinkedIn kind of suck, to be honest with you. And part of that is the fact that it's not as fun to be on LinkedIn, say for example, as it is to Facebook, but it's a very useful tool because there's 3 kinds of people that are actively on LinkedIn right now. Those are recruiters, they're salespeople, and they're job seekers. If you're in one of those camps right there, you should be on LinkedIn because guess what? Recruiters are on there and they're actively looking. Furthermore, I can tell you guys right now that I post pretty regularly to all my stuff, and usually I'll get somewhere between 1,000 to 3,000 views or so like that, and then I will get maybe 2 comments, and then I'll get maybe like 10 thumbs up or something like that. So that's a whole lot of people that are just kind of lurking in the background. So kind of going back to your point right there, we want to be socially acknowledged. We're seeking that validation, right? So it's a really easy way that you can just stand out and get noticed by the people that you want to connect with if you make the simple step of posting a comment that says, great article, really good work right there, or really appreciate your perspective or something along those lines. Giving people a quick thumbs up, what it does is it puts you further up their radar. Additionally, if you want to kind of take those next steps, what I would encourage you to do is start building your personal brand. And what I mean by your personal brand is, for example, I'm a recruiter that's focused on disability hiring. I also work with a lot of government agencies. That's kind of my personal brand. That's like my focus, right? But if you talk to John, for example, John, what's your personal brand?
My personal brand, futurist.
Okay, all right, yeah, futurist, yeah. I like to encourage you, have something that kind of is consolidated to your elevator pitch or something that's your personal brand that you post about on a regular basis. That can be sharing other people's articles, but that can also just be elevating other people that you admire and other people that you're trying to get in connection to. The other thing that I want to highlight that you said right there is it's kind of like shopping for cereal, if you will, at the grocery store. Anybody shop for cereal lately? Exactly. How many boxes are out there?
Many.
Thousands.
Yeah, and you know what? It's kind of like for me, I shop for cereal. I just want the box to be labeled cereal. Like I want to be able to very clearly see I'm looking for Honey Nut Cheerios. I don't need to see all the marketing graphics. I literally need to be able to see that it says Cheerios right there. I go shopping for shampoo. I want to be able to see that it shows shampoo right along the top. Take that on your LinkedIn, very clearly label what it is that you do and what you're looking for right now. And for the record too, I do recommend that you do include that green badge on your profile. I can tell you that I've just been doing searches earlier this week, and I've been screening specifically for people that have that badge on their profile to recruit for an internal administrative assistant position here at Peak Performers. So yes, that kind of thing does get noticed as well too. So those are just a couple of tips right here, but the biggest thing that you can do is, again, doing nothing is worse than doing even a little bit right there. So just take a couple of quick steps to update your LinkedIn. What's up, Shannon?
I'm going to cut real quick just because I think it's important. For LinkedIn, you go to work, don't forget it. Update it with your new role and your new company for 2 reasons. One, who knows how long you're going to be there. You know, we have somebody who recently worked for a startup and it went, and so you want to make sure that recruiters, if they're looking, that they know that you're employed. A lot of times they do like to look for people employed, but if you leave it the way it was, they'll be like, they've been employed for 3 years? So that doesn't look good. And secondly, if I were your employer and you still had your last job on there, I'm like, are they staying? I don't know. So don't forget about your LinkedIn profile. It becomes your friend. It's easy to set it and forget it once you go back to work, but don't. So that's just what I'm at.
No, I agree. There's so much that we could really talk about with LinkedIn. I'll share with you guys one last kind of black belt move that I like. Are you guys ready for this? So what you do is you connect with a whole bunch of people on LinkedIn, and I like to recommend that you look for peers. You look for people that would be in a similar position to kind of what you're in right now. And what you do is you wait for them to leave. You wait to see that inevitable banner that says, hey, congratulate Bobby for joining a new position with a different company. That's your opening. So now, you just found an opening that probably isn't available to the rest of the public. Go and apply for that position, connect with other people that are within that network, and find a way in immediately. It's estimated that 75% of jobs are not posted online. These are some of the tricks that you can find to actually finding those jobs.
Can I add one more thing?
Yeah.
And that is copy your peers.
Yeah.
Your headline is 4 times as important as anything else you put. And I was just looking at LinkedIn last week, and somebody said they were a LinkedIn expert. And I thought to myself, well, I'm a LinkedIn expert. And I went and added that to my headline. And so if you see something that somebody else has and you envy it, or you think it applies to you, go ahead and steal the idea.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's a lot to be said for copying in or just imitating what other people are doing, because if it's working for them, might as well. All right, the next thing that I do recommend, and I'm not a financial expert, obviously, but if you think that your job is at risk right now, I'd recommend that you save a little bit of money. The biggest challenge that many job seekers run into is when they have to settle for a less than position because they are in dire financial straits right now. So I know this is a little bit hard, but even if you're in a situation right now, you can probably curtail spending a little bit. Do that, so the longer that you can wait out for the perfect opportunity, the better. I can't tell you how often I run into people that are very, very senior level project managers, and they come and they're desperate to me and they say, Myles, I just need a job right now. And so they're willing to take an administrative assistant job. And I'm like, but you're a project manager. Why would you be going for this particular job right there? And furthermore, even going for that lower level position might even confuse the recruiters and dilute your personal brand too. So I do recommend, if you can, again, save a little bit of money for if you think that you're going to be unemployed for some time. Or if you think that there's a recession. And then the final word is do not procrastinate. Take the little steps that you can right now and make those things happen. A little bit of work right now makes a whole kind of a big difference down the road. And let's talk a little bit more about networking. So we kind of already talked about networking a little bit, right? So you're sitting here and we have technical difficulties. You turn to the person on your right and left and introduce yourself. You crack a joke about it. That's fantastic. We go to a conference and we go in line for the drinks and you stand and introduce yourself to the person that's next to you. These are the kinds of ways that you do organic networking. But real quick, how else have you networked with people? Do you have any recommendations?
Join a group
Yeah.
that is related to your business. For example, you might want to join the Project Management Institute if you are a project manager, and then volunteer. And the best volunteer role you can take is checking people in at meetings, because they get to meet a lot of people.
So really the point of it is that you never know when you're going to bump into somebody that could get you your next job. So you should make friends with as many people as you humanly can, and furthermore, you should put yourself outside of your comfort zone. So a lot of us, for example, I just tend to go to the same places over and over and over again in my personal life. You can usually find me at Emerald Tavern playing board games, spoiler alert. But if I were looking for a job right now, I might want to go to visit different coffee shops. Might want to figure out how to visit different bars. I might want to figure out different ways to connect with other people and put myself in front of other people that I don't normally see on a regular basis. And then here's the thing. I like to recommend that you say, you have a great conversation with them, you introduce yourself, and you say, hey, by the way, do you mind if we keep in touch? And then physically hand them your phone and say, would you mind typing in your LinkedIn right here for me so we can connect? Simple as that. So you build your network one person at a time, one gradual connection at a time, and then you keep in touch with these people over and over again. Because most people don't follow up. We currently get 800 to 1,000 resumes every single week at Peak Performers, and it's estimated that around 2% of the people actually follow up. What your job is your job is to make connections with people, make meaningful connections with people, and then figure out how you can stay on their mind. Because we all are busy people. We all are having people drop off our connections constantly and stuff like that. And it's hard to remember who we talk to, but you want to stay in front of them as well. One of my other kind of like things that I like to recommend is, anybody been turned down from a job lately? Okay, you don't have to raise your hand on that one. I understand. I can tell you that I've been turned down from a job on a number of occasions. And my first instinct whenever I'm turned away from a job is to go hide in the corner, right? That's exactly the opposite thing that you should be doing. Whenever you get turned away from a job, the very first thing that you should do is you should say, thank you very much for considering me. I understand that it was a difficult decision. Do you mind if I keep in touch with you about future opportunities? We've experienced a range of different people that might yell at us, people that might get really upset with us, people that might skulk away. Most people just kind of go away and we don't ever hear anything from them. We see most people don't ever actually apply for any kind of position with us ever again because they were so hurt by that. But really, if you got to the point of an interview, you came close. You don't know all the things that were happening in the background. It could have been somebody's cousin that got hired onto the position. It could have been that they promoted internally within. Who knows? Maybe they lost funding for that particular job, but the fact that you came close means that you should keep after that company over and over and over again. I know it sounds a little bit counterintuitive, but really when you do get that close to the point where they nearly offer you a job, I recommend that you take the next steps with them and build a connection. Because guess what? I don't know if you guys realize this, but you've heard me say before, 75% of jobs are not posted online, and that's because recruiters, like all of us, want to do the least amount of work as possible, okay? And I see that in a positive sense. The very first thing that happens is that whenever we get a job, we turn to the person on our right, and we turn to the person on our left, and we say, well, who do you know that would be a perfect fit for this position? And if you take the time to build that relationship with the recruiter, with the hiring manager, with the people that turned you down from the job, they're going to have a favorable, positive impression of you and keep you in mind. And guess what? Sometimes they will even make a job for you. They will build a job out of scratch because you impress them that much. So the next part that I want to talk about is I want to talk about success. And I personally am a fan of Woody Allen. I realize he's a bit of a pretentious character, but I do like what he says right there in that 80% of success is simply showing up. And I really cannot emphasize this enough. The fact that you guys came to a Launchpad meeting, that's fantastic. That's showing up. That's doing the good work right there. A lot of it is simply showing up. If you had to guess, of all the people that do interviews with us, what percentage don't show up to an interview? Any guesses? Anybody in HR?
25%.
What's that?
25%.
Yeah, it's about 25% or so like that. Guess how many of them do the interview with us, but then don't show up to the interview with the customer? At that point, you know that they're really close, right? We've recommended them, but they still don't show up to the customer.
80%?
Huh?
80%?
It's around 40 or 50%. It's actually, it depends on what industry you're in right now, but say for example, if you're in the retail or food industry, they have no shows as high as 90% right now.
Wow.
It is a staggering amount of people that just don't show up to the interview. And again, I don't want to call anybody out. I just want to tell you that a lot of it is showing up, and a lot of it is doing that basic legwork, not only showing up, being friendly, shaking hands, smiling. A lot of people will hire you off of your personality alone. A lot of people will hire you based off of those soft skills that you exhibit. And a lot of times they'll go ahead and interview you. They realize you're not the perfect fit, or the better unicorn candidate is over here. but can I make a job for you? Or can I consider you for a job 2 months from now when this position opens up again or something like that? Or that person that they select doesn't work out, okay, now you're the next best person that's available for that job. Always show up for the interview, even if you have another job opportunity in hand. Keep in mind, my friend, that just got ghosted by Amazon, right? Always take the interviews, always be networking, always be talking to people, always show up.
I have a question.
Yo, what's up?
So I interviewed with peak performers at a job fair a couple months ago. Didn't get on your website, didn't understand how to use it, so I reached out and contacted someone, emailed twice, and now I understand if you guys have between 800 and 1,000 people applying, how am I going, what's a tip for me to get in touch with you?
Well, let's talk afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah, let's, what I'll do is I'll pull up your profile, and then I'll get you in touch with the right recruiter.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you should do, because most people don't follow up, and you're doing exactly what you need to kind of get seen a second time, because a lot of times what happens is that we may see you, we may possibly forget about you, maybe it's, maybe there's something that's not clear on your resume or something like that, so maybe it's just a matter of communication gap and just overcoming that. But yeah, great question, thank you. What's up?
One more quick one. So you had business cards on the last slide. So I'm a quote hashtag transitioning teacher. I'm still I'm subbing.
Okay.
So, and I have a LinkedIn profile and I'm learning. But what would my business card, do you have examples, or is that something I need to talk to you about what a business card would look like for me? Because I'm not really employed full time. You know what I'm saying?
I think the personal marketing materials that each individual person is going to use will be a little bit different. For example, nurses almost never use LinkedIn, for example. They almost always are bound via Facebook. So it's going to look different depending on the industry that you're in. I'm just kind of showing examples from mine. And I actually disagree with Shannon. I think you should always carry a physical copy of your resume with you wherever you go.
I saw that on there. I was like, he's going to call me out. And I agree. I mean, if you're going to a networking event, but I feel like make sure you also have it on your phone.
Yes, 100%. You should, because people are going to connect with you in multiple different ways, and you'll remember me saying that only certain people are on LinkedIn, right? Salespeople, recruiters, and people that are looking for work. It's very possible that the person you're talking to is not on LinkedIn, or they don't use it a lot. So you should always have multiple different ways that you can get in contact with them. LinkedIn is just convenient, you know. Go ahead, what's up?
I understand your company specializes in finding jobs for disabilities, and I thought you should know. I read lips, and if you're not positioned such that you're speaking into the mic, I can't tell a word you're saying because I can't read your lips.
Thank you very much for the call out. I'll be more cognizant of that. Thank you very much. What's up?
Regarding the LinkedIn, some people are not on LinkedIn, and one of the things that I found is effective is when you create a LinkedIn profile, there's portions that you can create that are public, so that even if they don't have an account, you can give them a link to a public link, and they can still view what you've got, which makes it a little bit easier for you to be visible.
That's a really good call out, because a lot of times it is it's privacy settings, and I get it. We don't want to overexpose ourselves to the world and stuff like that. We don't want just anybody to be able to find us, but just be really careful about those privacy settings so that people can actually find you as well. And there's going to be different privacy settings that even allow people to search for you and come up with you in the first place too. So really good call out. All right. I'm going to turn around for just a second, make sure I didn't miss anything. All right, finally, the last part that we're going to be second to last part we're going to be talking about is finding less visible jobs that are out there. So it's estimated that 75% of jobs are not posted online. So how the heck do we find these jobs? So I have a little bit of a different technique for actually doing. Who's been on Indeed today? Who's been on ZipRecruiter today? No? Okay, all right. Who's been on ZipRecruiter this week? Okay, perfect. All right, so a lot of people find most of their jobs on Indeed and on ZipRecruiter, but the reality of it is that those sites only show you a tip of all the available jobs that are out there. The reality of it is that those sites are very expensive to advertise on. In fact, Peak Performance, for example, spends tens of thousands of dollars every single year in order to advertise. That means most companies are not going to advertise their jobs. So here's the technique that I like to recommend that you do. First off, still spend time on ZipRecruiter, still spend time on Indeed, and make sure that you look through these sites for any possible jobs that are out there. But then what I encourage you to do is keep in mind that if we're advertising that job, odds are you're going to be competing against hundreds or thousands of people for that single job. And your odds are not good. I don't care how good your resume is, your odds are not great for that particular one role. So what I would do instead is I would take a note of that particular company because they're probably going to have other similar kinds of jobs, and then go visit their website directly. So go directly onto their job boards. There are some places, some different companies that will only advertise on Indeed, but most of them will have their own job boards. And in fact, actually, some folks don't have any budget at all for these kind of platforms, and so they only post things. So the other thing that you can do is physically drive around your neighborhood or walk around your neighborhood and look for companies. You should also read periodicals that are based in Austin and try to find the stuff, because there are a wealth of different small and medium-sized businesses that are out there that physically don't get any attention. So I wanted to kind of share with you guys a quick story, and this happened at the height of the pandemic. This was April of 2020. HEB made national news when our local unemployment rate ran up to 14.5%. That's a lot of people that are looking for work, and everybody's systems are crashing for even being able to process unemployment claims, right? HEB comes on national news and says, everybody, we're here to save the day. We are here to hire people. So in the small town of Hutto, Texas, last time I checked, population 5,206 people. In one single week, guess how many job seekers they got that applied for their positions? Hutto, Texas. 76,000 resumes in a single week.
Wow.
All right, so this is the power of amplification. Most of us are only applying for jobs that are most visible. Most of us are standing in pools that frankly are too deep. There are way too many people that we are competing with. Now that very same week, I walked down the street to my local kind of bodega. It's kind of like an expanded bodega. It's got some fruit and veggies and stuff to it, called Mikasa Market. And I said, hey guys, how many resumes did you get last week? I'm just kind of curious. I'm a recruiter. And they thought about it for a second. They said, well, we got more than usual. We got 4. So what you can do is you can go find these smaller and medium-sized businesses that are not on the radar of people. You can do that by driving around. You can do that by driving past and go, I wonder what this business is. I wonder what they make. I wonder what they produce. You can still go online. You can still find them on Indeed, on ZipRecruiter and things like that. But just realize that when you're applying through those platforms, you're probably going to be in an ultra-competitive environment, and it's a lot faster sometimes to just go straight to their websites.
Myles, I love that you're talking about that, because when I graduated college, I graduated a music degree, so I went into sales. So I worked for a staffing agency to begin with, and this is 1989, pre-internet. I would go in Dallas, I would go to all those big tall towers in Dallas, and I would look at the directory so I could see what companies were there. Not a whole easy way to research. There was no Googling at that time, so I had to call them and kind of like, what do you do? Or try to see if I can find them in a business paper. But it really is amazing, because you'll walk into a building, you're like, oh, okay, I know Facebook, but what are these 4 other companies that are here? And it's a great opportunity to, like you said, be able to do a little research and see. A lot of times even companies don't necessarily even post on job boards. They sometimes will just post on their own site, so good to know that too.
Yeah, it's incredible just how many companies don't do that, and it's also incredible to note too how many companies don't post at all. There are a lot of companies that literally don't use their own job board. They don't do a public job board. They want to fill everything via referral networks. So, and so that's why you network. That's why you meet as many people as you humanly can. That's why you're on LinkedIn constantly. That's why you're going and you're building out your personal brand so that they think of you.
Short story.
What's up?
Similar to this, like you, but 1999. I put on a polo shirt, khaki pants, backpack full of resumes, and rode my bicycle around downtown Austin. And I knew that whatever job I was looking for, it was a software engineering job,
Yeah.
that if they were going to accept me, dressed as I am, commuting as I am, then that was the job that I wanted as a software engineer. So I do exactly what you did and what you're recommending. I go to the tall buildings, look in the directories, and just go up there and knock. I got 4 job offers. None of them were software engineer. They were all for sales. They were all impressed. They're like,
Your initiative.
they're like gobsmacked. They're like, you walking in here like this and asking for a job?
Especially
Like the
an
cut of your
engineer.
jib, you know?
Especially an engineer, I mean, like, wow.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, no, it's really powerful, and the thing is that most people don't do this kind of thing, so it really does make you stand out, yeah.
It did.
Absolutely.
It did. They're like, man, you're hired.
Okay, the final thing that I would recommend to everybody right now is, who here has the badge on their LinkedIn profile that says, I'm open to work? Okay, cool, I see most of you all. I think maybe there's some areas of opportunity right there, that maybe everybody make that happen today, right? Small steps, right? Small steps. However, most people might see this, but they don't really internalize it. So what I would encourage you to do is I would encourage you, who here has phone numbers for old colleagues, former colleagues? Okay, cool. Yeah. What I would encourage you to do is call them, text them, and reach out to them and say, hey, by the way, just want to let you know I'm looking for work. By any chance, do you know anybody? If you have a good rapport with people, they will try to help you. So what you should be thinking about is you should be thinking about all the people that are in my extended network, all my family members, all my friends, all the people that I used to work with. You should reach out to them on LinkedIn. You should reach out to them via phone, via text, whatever works. Email, that's fine too. And you should reach out to every person that you humanly know and let them know, hi, I'm looking for work. Do you happen to know anybody that might be hiring for me? All right, and finally, we're going to talk a little bit more about remote work, and I feel like I'm running a little, how am I doing on time, Shannon?
Oh, you're fine. It's only like 22.
Cool. And this is another one where it's going to be challenging to go back and forth right here, but I'm going to do my best right here. So let's talk about real quick about remote work. Just because so many people that I meet that are job seekers are only looking for remote work opportunities, and that's fine. I just want you to understand some of the ramifications of that. And I want you to understand some of the limitations that it applies. Remote work was very big during the pandemic, and still is much bigger than it was beforehand, but it's scaled back quite a bit. Currently, it's estimated that only 15% of jobs are 100% remote work. There's a lot more hybrid opportunities out there, but only 15% of jobs are actually currently remote work. However, there are currently twice as many people looking for remote jobs than there are people just looking for jobs, according to Google. Again, stand in smaller pools. Don't swim in, an ocean right there when you can stand in a smaller pool. Now, when we talk about you as a job seeker having more leverage in the job market, what that means is that you have more power to negotiate. So even if the job says fully 100% remote or 100% on-site all the time, you should still take that interview. You should still show up for that interview. And then use this as an opportunity to negotiate with them and say, what if I do different hours, or make so I can avoid traffic? Or what if I say, for example, work on-site 1 day a week and off-site 4 days a week or something like that? Use this time to negotiate with people. However, again, I really want you all to be very much aware. This is something that was a bit of a come to Jesus for me, and that is the fact that many people that do remote work only, they miss that very, very valuable time of being person to person and across the table, sitting in the break room with their boss, or sitting with them in person, right? This means that people that are, according to what happens is that a lot of times they're the first people to be let go. Okay? So you need to be really, really aware of that and be careful of what you're wishing for. They're oftentimes the first people to be let go. Additionally, they might be less likely to be promoted. It's estimated that they're 50% less likely to be promoted. So just be super aware of what you're looking for and what you're wishing for right here when it comes to remote work. You have a lot of opportunity, you have a lot of leverage to ask for that, but what I encourage you to do, ask for hybrid. Hybrid is very common, and odds are your boss probably does hybrid as well. The final point that I would make as well too, because think about not only the job that you want right now, but think about your career. The thing that's really important to consider is that your boss that's been working there for 10 years or 20 years, odds are they probably like going into the office. They probably like going and sitting. In fact, they probably get most of their social interaction during the day. And in fact, they may somewhat not like doing everything virtually with you. So just be very, very cognizant of that. If you are considering remote work only, just think about different ways that you might be flexible to doing that too. Any questions on remote work, by the way? Oh, I guess I click the next slide. Go ahead, what's up?
Yeah, the big part of the reason I was let go is also I was fully remote work. My manager and all team members are in Seattle, Washington, but only me in Austin. So that's also a big part of the reason.
Yeah,
was let
no,
go.
from a geographic standpoint, it makes a hell of a lot of
Yeah,
sense.
it's hard to connect, to have the face-to-face interaction is very important.
And were you remote 100% of the time?
Yeah, I was 100% for remote work.
Okay. How was the experience for you aside from that part of it?
It's hard. I like to have at least some face-to-face interaction. That's I don't think it can be replaced by just virtual like a conference meeting. Like you see each other, but only on the computer.
Yeah.
So you like some like a facial or maybe some like different, very minor like indication you cannot really see from like if you have a face-to-face interaction, it's just different. So.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's different. I did remote work for a while too. I still kind of sort of do a little bit of hybrid work, but I mostly work on site.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I like working remotely if I have to focus on a project and if I need to make sure that nobody interrupts me for 4 hours at a time. It's very, very beneficial for that. However, I miss some of that collaboration. It's a little bit harder for me to kind of get that sometimes too, for me personally. So has that been kind of the experience for you?
Yeah, it is. It is hybrid. I would really recommend hybrid if possible. So I mean, sometimes you need like maybe work in a quiet place remotely. That's gonna being flexible and no like in this distraction. So but sometimes you want to have like face-to-face interaction with your colleagues and build more like connection or more bonding together. It's
Yeah.
different. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you. I appreciate you sharing that right there. There are some good things that happen with remote work. The fact that geography is not necessarily a constriction, that really is helpful, and that really is a huge advantage for remote work. Also, people that say, for example, are parents and need to kind of be able to watch their kids, that's a huge plus for it. Or people that have disabilities that might make it difficult for them to go in the office, huge plus right there. But just keeping all these things in mind when you're considering remote work. I saw a hand come up over here. Vicky, right? What's up?
Yes, I just want to add, maybe if you do prefer remote work, but start with on-site. So you can build the trust and, especially a new job, so let people learn about you, and then you can taper off, because things are always changing. That's just my opinion.
That's a really good call out. So what she said right there is see if you can figure out how to start on site. And I would also add to that too, sometimes if you start a new job, let's say you live in Austin and they work out of Seattle, they might fly you in for a week or two of training or a couple of months or something. They might fly you out and you get to spend time with your coworkers right there. And then you should also consider how do I keep going back to at least visit them every once in a while over the course of the next years. Cool, thank you. All right, this is me. I'm Myles. Feel free to snap a picture of that. I do encourage you, if you only have 3 LinkedIn connections right now, I'm happy to be your 4th LinkedIn connection. Please connect with me. I'm happy to be, but also, guys, I am here to be your conduit into peak performers, help communicate with you, help you get through the hiring process, and help kind of expedite that for you. So while I'm probably not the recruiter that's going to be looking at your resume, I can at the very least recommend you and kind of get you to the right people.